Hello, it's time to explore more Rust, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the match statement in Rust, and this will allow me to get values out of enums, which was something I was quite frustrated by not being able to do in the last video. Apparently there is a more succinct way to do this, which I'm going to look at probably in the next video. The match statement is a control flow statement that seems to be quite important in Rust. More important than, for example, switch in Java, which it seems a bit similar to. So I'll create some kind of enum here. Let's say let number equal sum and 5. So because sum is imported into the Rust prelude, we can do this. And the other value of this enum type called option is none. Let's maybe have a none as well. So I'll put number 1 there. Duplicate that, and then we can have a none. So to get the value out of this, one way to do it is I can write let result equal match, and then the thing that I want to kind of look at or inspect, let's say number 1, then we have curly brackets. So the match statement has a bunch of different arms, and Rust is going to work down the different arms until it finds one that matches. So let's have one that will match sum with a value in it. And then I have a syntax like this. And then I could have various things. I could have an expression or a code block, or I could run a function here. So in this case, I think I just want to return value. Now apparently these have got to be exhaustive. So we've got to list all the possibilities here. And the option enum has one other possibility, which is none. One thing that we could do to list all the possibilities is to use an underscore, and I could return some value in the event of something other than this pattern matching. So let's maybe try 0. If I've got this right, we should have retrieved the value from number 1 now. So let's try print line exclamation mark, and in there we will print result. I actually had to practice this a couple of times. The last time I started making this video, the results were dire. It didn't go well at all. And I think this is actually the most complicated thing that I've actually looked at in Rust, to be honest, so far. So let's try running this and see if it works. I'll do cargo format, because that's always good. Oh, okay. I've missed off a semicolon. How did I manage to do that? Oh yes, I need one here. All right, we'll try again. Seems okay now. So I should be able to do cargo run. All right, let number equals none. Type must be known at this point. Yeah, I forgot about that. So if I create a none here, I've got to declare what type it is. This is going to be option of int, right? I32, actually. Okay, so I'll try that. Yeah, now it seems okay. And you can see we've got 5 down there. One thing I'm going to do is these unused variable warnings are really annoying me. Usually I would probably appreciate them, but since this is kind of demo code where I'm just working stuff out, they're really driving me nuts because it's not easy to see where there might be other warnings scattered among them that I actually want to pay attention to. So I found a way to get rid of them. If I go to the top here, I can type, I think it's hash exclamation mark square brackets allow round brackets unused, and hopefully that will get rid of my unused variable warnings. So I'll try it again. Yeah, great. Okay, that's much better. Now I can see other warnings if they come up. Of course, I could also put none in here. So I could just write none, which would make more sense in this context. Let's maybe just duplicate that, and I'll have an underscore here just to show that it's possible. You can check my code on GitHub if you want to. So that ought to work perfectly well as well. Let's run it. Yeah, we get 5. Okay, there are a few other things that we can do here. Actually, there seem to be a ton of other things that we can do with match. So I'm not going to cover them all in this video, especially since I haven't seen them all myself, except to glance at them. But let's take a look at examples of using code blocks and functions. I'll create an enum here. Enum. To keep things simple, I'm just going to call this point, then we can just add coordinates to the point. So because this is some kind of type declaration, doesn't seem like we need a semicolon after it. And let's have point 1D, and that's just going to accept one coordinate value of type I32. Then I can duplicate this a couple more times and we can have 2D and 3D. So the 2D one's going to have 2 coordinates. We could put different assorted types in here. And I'll have 3 coordinates for the 3D point. Then let's create a point. So let point equal point colon colon point 2D maybe. And then I think that would actually compile strangely. I don't really know why, but it does seem to. Let's run it. So yeah, it actually doesn't give me any warnings, but I'm supposed to supply a couple of values here. Let's put in 5 and 6. Actually, no, I'll put in something I've not used previously. I'll try 21 and 22. And let's write a match statement that will execute different bits of code depending on what kind of point we've got here. So I need match point, and then we could have point colon colon point 1D. I do have to repeat the actual type of it here. I tried it without and that didn't work. And that's going to have just one value here. What should I call it? I'll just call it C1 for brevity. We can have another one of those that matches, let's say, a 2D point. I'll call that C1 and we'll have C2. And each of these could run something. Let's for the moment put in an underscore as well. So we have to fill that in because this has to exhaust all possibilities. So here, I'm not going to attempt to get a return value. I'm not going to use it like it's an expression. I'm just going to put in some code. Let's maybe have a code block here and we'll have print ln exclamation mark. And let's just print that one coordinate that we've got here. So point 1D and I'll print out C1 colon question mark. I'll do the same kind of a thing with a 2D. Let's just paste that in there. We'll have a 2D point. And in that case, we can also get the C2. So I've got C1 there. And then here we can have C2 colon question mark. I've messed this up a bit, haven't I? Let's get rid of that. Double quote, put a bracket in there and close the double quote. I think this should work. Now, what do we do with this? What can I actually put in that will make it compile? Now, see, I've put semicolons here. So as far as I understand, that means these code blocks don't have a return value. Or if they do, the return value will be unit, like 2 empty round brackets. Maybe I could put in 2 empty round brackets here. I'm not sure. So this should match this 2D point, right? This is meant to be point 2D. Okay, I'm going to try it. What do you think? Cargo format, cargo run. Yeah, it works. So it says point 1D. Oh yeah, I've just got to change that text. All right, now I think it works. Point 2D and then we get the coordinates out of there as well. So if I change that, let's make this mutable, and change it to point equals point colon colon point 1D and pass in like 33 or something. Then hopefully we should get a point 1D out of that. Let's try. There we go, point 1D 33. So another thing that we can do here is we could put a function name to actually run a function. And instead of this underscore, we could also use other, which I guess is a keyword, to actually get the object in question. So I'll see if I can define a function within main here, because I don't know how to do lambda expressions at this point in Rust, but maybe I can define a function that's just scoped to the main function. Let's write function print point, and that's going to accept a point of type immutable reference to a point. And what it's going to do with it is it's going to try to print it. So print ln exclamation mark, and in here we've got, what have we got? Point, and I think the question mark usually does it. And I'm probably going to have to put, well, I am going to have to put some stuff up here to make it printable in debug mode. So that was, what was it? Hash square brackets. I've completely forgotten. I know it had something to do with debug. It had debug in it somewhere. Let's just comment this out and I can get it from the warning that I'm doubtless going to get. So I want to use this somewhere, and where I want to use it is I want to change that to other, and then here I should be able to put print point, and pass in reference to other. So this should catch all other cases just like underscore, except you get a reference to whatever kind of object you've got here. Let's try this out, see what it does. All right, point doesn't implement debug. That is what I was hoping for. And yeah, that's it. Hash derive debug. I'm going to try to remember this. So if I go above point here, I should be able to put in there hash derive debug. Determined to remember this. I don't know why that's hash and this one is hash exclamation mark. And why does debug have a capital D and that doesn't? I don't know, but never mind. Okay, let's try again. Format the thing and run it. Non-snake case on by default. Oh yeah, nice. Well, it's pretty nice that it caught that. I want to use snake case and here I haven't. So let's change that to print point. And here, let's change that to print point because snake case is considered the recommended option in Rust. So now if I run it, okay, there's no warnings and it says 0.1D33. Let's go back. I want to try it with a 0.3D. So let's go down here and say point equals point : 0.3D. And in there I'll put in 41, 42, 43 or whatever. So now we should fall through to this other thing here and we should be able to print it. Let's try. Yeah, it works. Look at that. So that's coming out from the debug print in my function. So it's coming out from that. And I think this just about exhausts all my knowledge of matching at the moment. One thing that I'm curious about is this a keyword? Or is it just that you're supposed to use underscore because underscore turns off unused variable warnings or something like that? So what if I changed it to something else? Let's change it to another, and that can be another. Does that still work? Let's run it. Yeah, it does still work. So there's nothing actually special about this other, which explains why when I was looking for examples of it, I couldn't find any apart from in the Rust documentation. I wonder if we could actually print that underscore if we actually wanted to. Yeah, it doesn't let me do that, but apparently it will let me call it whatever I want apart from an underscore by the looks of it. So I guess the underscore does have a special meaning, but you can just replace it with something else and then you can get a reference to it and Bob's your uncle. Okay, so this is the code that I've got today. So I'm going to write this up as usual, put it on blog.caveofprogramming.com. On YouTube, I'll put a link in the description. And there you can see a write-up of this and also click through to the code on GitHub. And in the next video, hopefully we are going to see a less verbose way of doing this stuff, because this is really a lot of code just to get a value out of, in this case, just an option. So until next time, happy coding.